Instagram Live. So hopefully it's going to preview. Come on. Oh, it's not doing it on Instagram. Oh no. There it is. It takes so long. That delay is crazy. All right. I'm going live. Perfect. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm live on Instagram, YouTube, and all that good stuff. We're going to talk about how do I get there from here. So let's say there's somewhere you want to be. You've been noticing that it's been difficult to get there, and you want some help on how to get there. Hello, NDGIMI. I don't think I'm familiar with that name. Hello, welcome. So I am coming to you live from Los Angeles, California. It's Monday, first official day that I'm sort of realizing daylight savings, but I want to talk about the how do I get there from here? Okay, how do I get there from here? So I'm going to be going live more consistently. The idea is sometime around noon Eastern and 9 a.m. Pacific, somewhere in that window. I know it would be better if I did it earlier. We're going to test different times and see. But right now, I'm going to schedule them in advance. So I'm excited about that. So how do I get there from here? So if you have a place that you would like to be, and I mean in your life, like you would like a better relationships, you'd like more money, you'd like more success, a better house, something like that. Are you ever wondered, besides the practical, how do I get there from here? Put a 1 in the chat. I want to know how to get there faster or more efficiently or something like that. If that's of interest to you, let me know because I want to get to it right now. Okay. We want to learn how do I get there from here? Oh my God. Okay. Got it. Okay, got it. Sorry. I was like, what's going on? I was like, messages. Okay. So one of the things is that we are often looking, so when we are here and we're looking to get there, okay, we are often focused on what? And I'm going to tell you the answer because you could say a multitude of things, but mostly the fact that we're not there. So we're mostly like, I see that. I know I'm clear on where I want to be. I'm clear on where I am. I'm not clear on how to get between here and there, like faster. I think I could see the steps, right? Somebody said it's going to take 10,000 hours. Somebody said it's going to take 10 years. Somebody said it's going to take all my blood, sweat, and tears, no rest, no sleep, right? All this stuff. And I'm willing to put in the work. See, this is the typical entrepreneur and high performer that I work with is like, well, tell me what to do and I'll do it, right? And here's the thing. I don't want you to do anything. I want you to be everything. I'm going to say that again. I don't want you to do anything. I want you to be everything. Okay? Be all of it. So what does that mean? Because you mean like, what do you mean you don't want me to do anything? Well, I don't mean it in the sense of I just want you to sit down and just, just wait, right? Because there is no waiting in my method, in my way of teaching you. I don't want you to do anything. I want you to be everything. Okay. So what does that mean? It means that if you are, and by the way, if you're live on YouTube, if you're live with me on Facebook or any of that, go ahead and just drop it in the chat. Put something, send me a reaction or something so I know you're there because it only shows me who's live with me on Instagram. It doesn't show me the numbers for YouTube or Facebook if you're here. So I'm just saying, if you are, feel free to let me know. Excuse my yawn, still adjusting because I was on the East Coast when daylight savings happened. Now I'm back on the West Coast, so my body's probably all kind of off. Thank you for letting me know that you're there. I appreciate your reaction to let me know. Okay, so what does it mean to be everything? The thing about the doing is it's the wrong way round. There's be, do, and have. Type that in the chat. Be, do, and have, right? Which one do you think 99% of people focus on? Be, do, or have, right? Be, do, or have, right? So most people focus on the doing, right? What do I need to do to get there? What do I need to do? How much do I need to do? And how long is it going to take before I can have? And sort of forgetting about the be. And maybe your being in that moment is, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get there. But I think we'd be kidding ourselves, or at least I'll speak for myself. I won't speak for you. I don't want to work hard to get there. It's not that I'm unwilling to work hard. I mean, here's the thing, I love what I do. If I had to have conversations all day about mindset, I could do it. Because that's how much I love this stuff. Manifestation, masterclass. Manifestation, mindset. Bringing things into being. You got me locked in. I'm like, yo, let's go, right? But even I would get fatigued if I needed to have individual conversations with each person I met about this, because I'm like, there's got to be an easier way. So many of us have worked really hard, have put in the work, but I think we'd be lying and kidding ourselves if we didn't say there's got to be an easier way. So my question to you is, what if there was an easier way? Would you be willing to suspend what you believed previously about what it would take to get there and give it a different method or effort than you have in the past, right? Which means I'm not asking you to do more efforting, more working. I'm asking you to shift the way you're looking at things, right? Wayne Dyer is famously quoted as saying, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, right? And there's also something called the observer effect. So the more that I believe something, when I'm looking at it, then that's the way it's going to appear that it's true, right? For those of us that have ever said, I always have bad luck or whatever, right? And it's like, well, I look at it, I get bad luck, I believe that's true, and then it reaffirms itself over and over and over again. But what if we, by being someone different, identifying as someone with good luck, for example, it changed everything for us? Even though we had no quote unquote physical evidence to substantiate, support us in believing what we are wanting, okay? So my question to you, what's up, Janora? My question to you, right, is what if I don't want you to do anything? I don't want you to work harder. I don't want you to put in more hours. I don't even want you to spend, I don't want you to sweat. I don't want you to give your blood, sweat, and tears. I want you to just sit still, be still, and know, okay? And what are we knowing? I want you to know who you are, okay? Now, you might say the answer to that question, if you happen to be Janora, who I know is watching, or whoever's watching on YouTube and Facebook, you might say, well, I know my name is Janora. I'll just use her for an example because I know she's here, at least for a few moments. All right? So, yes, you are Janora, but that's not who you are. That is your name, okay? That doesn't encapsulate the totality of your beingness, okay? There's so much more to you than your name or your nationality or your, I'm thinking of other things. Your name, your nationality, your origin, your race, your gender, those are all external identifying factors. Now, internally, you may feel very passionate about your identity rooted in those particular stats, right? Your age, your race, your culture, your where you were born, and all that. I happen to know Janora feels very strongly about being from North Carolina, for example, and probably about being a woman and being a Black woman at that. Those are all wonderful. However, they're all surface, external identifications. I want you to learn how to identify internally, okay? Internally, okay? So we want to talk about your beingness, okay? What's up, Irv? How you doing? It's good to see you. I love when you pop by for just a few moments just to grace me with your presence, okay? So now that we know, okay, we know that we're identifying externally, right? We want to then decide, how do I identify internally? And these are what we would call, what some people might label the intangibles, okay? In other words, you can't necessarily put your finger on it. You couldn't prove most of these things to someone else, which you're not. Just let me say as a caveat, that's not supposed to be the intention, but you wouldn't be able to, these are not things that you could see by looking at you from an outside perspective. But we're not looking for anything to be substantiated, validated, proven by the outside, okay? So internally, who are you? So who is the one? It's funny, I went to this workshop many moons ago and they had this thing called a direct experience, right? And I went to this 7 days, it was a 3 day weekend thing where it was like you silent, you ate only plant-based foods. I don't even know if I was plant-based at the time. And you did all these things and it was all about having a direct experience, right? A direct experience of your real beingness, right? Which I don't know, whatever. But I remember they said, who, I'd be like, well, I'm hungry. And they'd be like, well, who is the one that is hungry? Or I'd say, well, I'm Bryn. And they'd say, who is the one that is Bryn? And it was just always, who is the one? And it would go deeper, right? Whatever you said, it'd be like, well, I'm sad. I'm enlightened. I'm whatever. It'd be like, well, who is the one? So the thing is that you can't fully capture your complete beingness, right? In just your conscious mind can't completely conceptualize it because your conscious mind is sort of your connection to the real, the outside world, right? The way that you sort of experience your humanness, your beingness, your living reality, your living whatever. But your internal, right, your total beingness is the all that isness. It can't be quantified. It's sort of like attempting to define God. So you attempting to fully measure you or to even be able to experience all of you is just not really what we came for. We came into these, human suits, this living incarnation to experience life where there's so much more than what we can completely conceptualize, and we get to enjoy the deliciousness of the unfolding of it all, if that makes sense, okay? So you came for that. And so who is it? Who do you say that I am, right? So who do you say that you are, Janora? Who do you say that you are, Irv? Who do you say that you are, whatever your name is, right? If you're watching this on the replay or live and I haven't said your name. So the question is, who are you? And now you might list by past things. Well, I'm a hard worker. I know this to be true because I have evidence of that. I am someone who is lazy or disorganized because I have evidence of that. And blah, blah, blah. And I don't want you to do that because now you're only regurgitating how you've built yourself up to now, okay? I want you to write out, who are you now? Now, imagine though that who are you is a clean slate. And you get to decide who you are. So for example, there's a book called The Phantom Tollbooth. And they say, make a speech, right? And you get to, whatever. And so this guy stands up and he makes this speech because he's new in the room. And he makes this speech and he's like, oh, I'm so glad to be here. You guys are all wonderful, blah, 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 blah. And then everybody else makes their speech and they say things like cupcakes, cookies, sandwiches, whatever. And then all of a sudden people come in and deliver them their words on a platter. And he is like looking at all his words that he said, and there's nothing appetizing or delicious about what he said, and he spoke it into existence. So he spoke it and it came to him, and he didn't want to eat his words, but everybody else got to eat what they said, right? Because they knew the rules of the game. Okay, so I want you to imagine that there's like this menu of things that you could be, right? Who do you say that you are on this menu, rather than using the past or even the future as some sort of dictate of, well, I don't know if that could happen, or I don't know, that's never happened to me before, so I don't see how this could be real. No, this menu is an unlimited, all-you-can-eat buffet of everything you could possibly imagine, and even things that you might not even know exist yet. And I'm saying, who do you say that I am? So, for example, if in the past I've been disorganized or whatever, then I don't want to say I am disorganized, because anything I say after I am, I'm identifying with it and I'm enlivening it, right? Now, when we tell people things like this, just a slight pause, people will say, but I'm afraid of my thoughts. Now, I did think some negative things. So are you saying those also would be things that I would have to eat? No, it's what we attach our identity to. What we attach our identity to. So we could think, I'm disorganized, I'm terrible, I'm this, right? But it's like those thoughts might come up. So for example, I was driving back from San Diego last night, and even though I generally feel I'm safe, right? When I speed or I ride in the carpool lane or whatever, my mind will still offer, but what about the cops or, blah, blah, blah. So it's like I believe it about 75% of the way, but there's still those thoughts that come up. But I don't allow them to attach. I don't start looking around for police. I don't adjust my speed. I do what I believe is necessary to maintain my identity of I'm always safe. Now, every once in a while, I might take an action to get out of the carpool lane, and then I ask myself, I'm always questioning myself, are you living as you say you're being, right? Am I really dwelling in my beingness, or am I letting the outside world dictate to me who I am? Okay? Because there's always going to be opportunities to have fear. Okay, to identify with fear, with the outside powers. But I live in a world where I'm the only power that exists. So I get to decide what experiences I attach myself to, what experiences I choose from the all that isness. What's up, handsome? It's good to see you. So we want to decide. So if you had a clean slate in your present time, I want you not to go based on what you think is going to happen or what has happened in the past. I want you to go in this menu and decide who you are right now. And I want you to say who you are as if it's already done, because your own attachment to it is what enlivens it. Your awareness is what brings it to life. So I want you to resurrect that you are, who are you being? Who are you being in this moment? If you're the only power and you could order anything off the menu, and I'm saying, let's say you see somebody else and you're like, yo, that person is super wise. I hope to be wise someday. So what is the affirmation, or what is the identification? I am wise beyond my years. I am always making the right decisions. I am always having the best experiences in life. These are examples of things you can choose from the all that is. Examples, right? Now, I'm not telling you what to say, because only you know what your heart's desire is. Your desire is something different. So Handsome's here for at least a few moments, and I know Handsome trades, okay? And Handsome is someone that does, he helps people trade. So let's say he says, right, I know his literal mind, his logical mind is going to tell him that he can't predict the market. He can't totally control the market. But what if he decides that every trade he enters is successful? Now, I know Handsome probably believes that on some level, because he's already pretty confident, because he has plenty of evidence to back that up. But let's say he wants a certain percentage. I want all of my trades to net me 50% returns, or 100% returns, or 150% returns. I don't know. I'm just saying stuff, right? So in that instance, right, you would want to, yeah, right? I can see you. I see you. So you would want to go ahead and say, okay, all my trades net me 150% returns. Now, I don't want you to look for evidence of this. So in other words, I said that, Bryn, and then my last trade, I lost money. Or I said that, Bryn, and my trade only came in at a 50% profit or whatever. No, I want you to keep saying it until it becomes physical in your reality. It's like when you plant a seed, you don't see fruit the first day. You have to water it, you have to nourish it, you have to do all this stuff, and then it bears fruit. And eventually, obviously, if you plant a seed for strawberries, you expect strawberries. If you plant a seed for apples, you expect apples. So what I'm saying is, plant a seed that all your trades are super successful. And I get it, every trader takes losses. I don't want you to apply logic and literalness to this, okay? I get that there are rules, and I'm not telling you to be reckless. I still want you to, and then what happens is when you start identifying with that end, you have even more ideas to enter trades maybe that you wouldn't have normally entered. Some stock will light up in a way that it didn't light up before. Something will happen that you didn't typically would say but it won't light up in a way that it's just like, oh, the heavens part and the sun shine down. It'll just be like, oh, maybe I should look at tech stocks today. And I don't normally look at tech stocks. I normally trade commodities. I'm just giving that as an example. Again, just examples. But all of a sudden something tells you go over to the tech stocks today. And that happens. And then all of a sudden you get 150% return. Or you start getting better returns than you even normally get, even if you're already successful. And so that's an example of saying, who am I? So you're saying I am, and then you're putting something after it. I am the greatest ever. So when we're training our people that follow us, if I was handsome, I'd be saying this also to my clients. So, like, what are your goals? So you need to say, I am a successful trader. I am a successful trader. I'm always having great trades. I'm making great money. These are things, even absent of any physical evidence, that we want to be identifying as, because the doing and the having springs from the being. So if I decide I'm that, which Handsome has, yep, right? If I decide like I am, like Handsome has, right? He's very confident in his trading ability, then that's what happens. Then all of a sudden we have that. But most people don't apply mindset to it. They just learn the mechanics of trading. They learn the mechanics of being an actor, because Janora was here, if she's still here. They learn the mechanics of these things, and then they go, well, the typical process of being an actor is that you go up for auditions, you hope, fingers crossed, hey, Miss Independent, you hope, fingers crossed, that you'll win some of the jobs, and then you'll have, a decent acting career. But, I am getting older. I don't know if they're looking for my type. Handsome might say the market's kind of down right now. I don't know, the trades aren't as good as they used to be last month. So we take all this external data and we make that the power. We decide that that's more powerful than we are, instead of I create the circumstances and the experiences of my life. So I choose, even though that's an option on the menu, to have a down market, to have to be too old to get certain jobs, or to be too black, too big, too small, too whatever for certain things, not experienced enough, then I've decided that those factors I'm not choosing on the menu. They're there. People talk about them. People will engage in lots of conversation about how the market's crazy, you can't predict it, blah, blah, blah. These are all conversations that are quote unquote normal. But my question to you is, who are you being? It says come out from among them in the Bible. So what does that mean? It means I'm not here to be like everybody else. I'm here to be the power in my life. So I decide what experience of reality I want to have. So in my experience, going back to my speeding carpool lane example, I believe that I don't have interactions with the police. I'm able to travel on the roads. I'm a free traveler. I get to travel without any instances or, interactions with any of the law enforcement, because I'm good, right? Now people say, well, you can't do that. You just get lucky, blah, blah, blah. Well, you can say that, but that's not my experience of reality. I decide who I am. Who do you say that I am? Who do you say that you are, right? And so everyone else will want to go based on what they see and say, well, this is, you can't dock this, you can't get that, you can't make this that way, because that's just not the way it is, right? But here's what happens when you do this method that I'm saying. I don't want you to do anything. I don't want you to take 20, 50 years. I don't care who you're getting advice from. They're going based on their experience, their beliefs. And guess what? Their experience and their beliefs is what's netting them their results. And so, yes, you could borrow their method and say, well, I don't mind, or I don't want to get there fast. Some people say, well, I don't want it to come tomorrow. I don't want it to be this. And it's like, well, here's the thing. If you could, would you want to? Like, so let's say it took a mentor of yours 10 years, right? And you're like, well, I guess it's going to take 10 years. And it's like, well, do I want it to take 10 years? I don't have a desire. I want it to come faster, and not faster like it has to be instant. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind if it only took 2 years, and not that you get to decide the order of the time, right? So, but if you just say, if you do this, it's going to come much faster than it does if you look at following the exact blueprint that someone else did, because they had their own set of circumstances, beliefs, and experiences, and you can't know all of their circumstances, beliefs, and experiences to replicate it. So that's why when you follow someone else's formula, because I know Handsome has attempted to help people trading, that they can't get the same results because they're not you. So the most important thing to focus on is, who do you say that you are? Who are they being? Because their beingness is what's going to inspire their doing and then their having. Is this making sense? Put a 1 in the chat if this is making sense, or if I'm just like, I've so lost you guys. I mean, you're still here, so I must be saying something good. But at the same time, you might just be being nice because these happen to be 2 people that I know that I can see on my screen that are here. But put a 1 in the chat if this is making sense. So I don't want you to do anything. I want you to be, okay? I want you to be everything. I want your beingness to be everything, okay? And your doingness to only stem from the being. So once you do that, then you all of a sudden experience things differently. All of a sudden you have different ideas. Something tells you that this is the right course of action, and usually inspired action feels like a normal thought, right? A normal thought. But everything goes the way it's supposed to. Everything goes the way it's supposed to. So allowing yourself to experience life and enjoy the journey. So in other words, if I was handsome, right? And I'm just using handsome as an example. Not that I, but so as handsome, I would say, oh, I want to go out and trade. Normally I trade 10 hours a day. I'm just saying, I know he doesn't trade 10 hours a day, but let's say he does. I think the market's not even open 10 hours a day, but you get the point. So then I was like, but you know what? Today's telling me just go for a walk or go play with my dog or do this, right? Hey, Principal Ra, what's up? How you doing? So, or how are you being? Maybe I should start asking that. How are you being, man? How are you being? What's your being like, right? Since I say that, right? But anyway, if handsome says he trades a certain amount of a day, then it's like, well, what if something told you to do something different, right? And you're like, no, I can't do that. I gotta trade 10 hours a day because I believe that my actions are what net me my results. But what if your actions aren't netting your results? It's still your beingness. So what you believe about those actions is what's actually netting you the results. So different actions can still net good results because you're still being someone who believes that whatever you're doing, wherever I am, it's still bringing me business. So if I decide to go for a walk, that's still bringing me business. If I decide to, take a break and cut off early and go hang out with my wife, if I'm handsome, right? Because he's married. And Janora is also married, and Principal Ra is actually married as well. So we got 3 married folk on here. So, if go hang out with my wife or my husband, well, in fact, all 3 of your cases, it is wife. But anyway, the point is that, if I decide to do that, that's bringing me business. Does that make sense? Instead of thinking, if I'm not actively working in the business or on the business, as some people say, then I don't see how that's going to bring me anything. But it's the fact that once you get into your beingness, knowing that it's all bringing you everything. It's all bringing you everything. And so knowing that wherever I am, whether I'm in line at TSA PreCheck, whether I'm at the grocery store, whether I'm taking a nap, it's all part of the unfolding of exactly my destination is assured, the finish line, the victory circle, I'm guaranteed to get there. So I know, and I believe that whatever I'm doing is bringing me to where I want to be. So I'm not concerned about it. I'm not concerned about, and then other people might say, wait, so you only worked how many hours last week and you think you're going to make this much per year? And it's like, well, when I had my most successful year, almost made, I think I was just about, I was close to $500,000, right? But when I made my most successful year, it's like, wait a minute, how much did I work that year? Not that much. How much did I do? Not that much, right? But who was I being? What was I believing about what I was doing, right? If we go back to my challenge where I made $55,000 in 1 month, my first time ever having that successful of a month, what was I believing about that? I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm going to make $55,000, because no, I didn't think that. You know what I believed? That what I was doing was what I wanted to do. It was the way that I wanted to go about getting new clients. I believed so wholeheartedly that the challenge was the way to go. I was just being the version of myself, being myself, doing the challenge the way I wanted to do it, and it netted me my best month ever, right? And so if we reverse engineer that, what did I do, right? It wasn't, I had people gave me some projections, but everything was easy. It was light. There was no pushing. There was no forcing. There was no efforting really hard to make it happen. It was just beingness. And so I want to give that to you. And I know, coming from the hustle and grind culture of entrepreneurship, or being an actress like Janora, where it's like, how many auditions? You got to hit the pavement because it's all numbers game, right? Right. I was in flow motion. Exactly. Let me put that on the screen so everybody can see that. Okay. Yeah. I was in flow motion. So once you It'll come up in a second. There's like a delay between Instagram and so like I'm saying something and you guys are hearing it like 5 to 7 seconds later. So I never, so I have my sound turned off, so I don't know when you guys hear it, but it'll show up on the screen. Anyway, the point is, once I recognize that, right? But see, most of us will then identify with the results. Oh, so that's what you have to do to get it. But then you start to focus on the doing because you're like, oh, this is formulaic. It'll keep repeating itself if I keep doing the challenge. But then it was like, well, I started to have thoughts that I wasn't doing enough to promote the challenge. I started to have thoughts about, well, it's not netting me the same results. So I started to be less enamored with the challenge, right? Less enamored with the process. It was a lot of effort for a little bit of results. So I started to feel differently about the challenge, and guess what? It got less results. So when you look at everything, like how did you feel when you got the thing that you most want? So for example, I know Handsome might still be here, Principal Ra, but Janora was the voice of the Oscars either last year or the year before that, okay? When the slap happened. That's all I know. So when Janora was the voice of the Oscars, if she was to look at, wait, what was happening in my life when that came to me? And it doesn't matter. You can always logically go by how you got it, but don't think about that because we're the summoner of everything. So even though you know the person that was producing the Oscars, you got that job. Hey, Handsome, I'm glad that you're liking this. You got that job because you ordered all that. You're the one that orchestrated them getting the job to be able to give you the job. I want you to think about it that way instead of thinking about the fact that that like, oh, it just happened to be wow, this happened and it's all coincidental and of course and this and this and that and that. 2022. Okay, got it. So you were the voice of the Oscars, right? I want you to think about what was going on in my life at that time. What was I thinking about? Most likely you weren't thinking, my question to you, Janora, because I don't think I've ever asked you this. I know you've done voiceover gigs, but did you ever think I want to be the voice of a major award show or specifically the Oscars? Was that ever a thought of yours? Just curious. Because I'm wondering if you ever thought that, right? So if you did, then the question is, never. Okay, so right. So you just knew that but you've always wanted to, okay, but I think the answer is yes, that you've always wanted to take your career to another level. Has that always been the thing? Like I've always wanted to have bigger opportunities. I've been wanting, when I see other people having these opportunities, maybe I was curious how that happens. Maybe I was like, oh, one day that'd be nice if, something like that happened to me, but maybe not specifically the Oscars or specifically a major award show, but just like, yeah, I want national campaigns. I want big exposure or anything like that. Yeah, exactly. So when you have those thoughts, right, the universe is going to work because from moment to moment, we're shifting identities, we're shifting realities. And so it's orchestrating everything, its ways are past finding out, to make things happen. So my question to you is, how do you reverse engineer that? Is you keep having those desires and you keep being easy about the process instead of trying to figure out how do I make that happen? You go to who do I need to be? So and then you just become that. Become it in consciousness. Decide, identify as it, even if you don't believe it. Like I am always being called for the biggest jobs in Hollywood. You could say something like that. Now, I'm a words person, so I like affirming. You could visualize it. What would be a scene that would be 2 to 3 seconds long that would imply that everything was done? Maybe it could be you and I don't know why I was just going to call her Jada. You and Layla sitting at the house and seeing your Oscar on its shelf and just like, wow, babe, I still can't believe that's there. And her being like, well, of course, babe, you deserve it, right? That could be the whole scene. You seeing the Oscar on a shelf, okay? And you seeing it and then her commenting, you saying, wow, I still can't believe I won an Oscar. And then her being like, yeah, babe, of course, you deserve it. And that being the complete scene. And you felt it, you saw it, and that was it. And you drop it. And then all of a sudden, it's like, wow, I'm getting called in for better auditions. Things are happening because I'm being easy about it. I'm not trying to, and I know you're not at the point in your career where you're like calling all casting directors and going to all the workshops because you're a seasoned actress at this point. But the question is, how are you approaching your day to day? Easy? Or are you feeling like, are you more focused on what's not happening? Are you dwelling more in the lack or are you dwelling more in the isness? Dwelling more in the isness, okay, of who you are, right? And so the more you dwell in the isness instead of the lack of, then all of a sudden everything's easy and things start happening, like somebody you know getting the job of a lifetime and then thinking of you for that part. Or, this casting director coming across, like somehow they're like putting all the headshots together and then all of a sudden yours falls out of the pile and it's like, oh yeah, like stuff that we couldn't predict, right? Steve Jobs is famously quoted as saying, you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backwards. So it's not your job to figure out how it's going to happen. All those fun imaginations about the casting director finding your headshot or your friend getting the job, those are just things that I'm saying, but I have no idea how it's going to happen. And nor is it my job to worry about that, nor is it yours. It's more just I'm clear on the destination, which is I want an Oscar. So I am an Oscar-winning actress. So for me, because this method works the best for me, I would say I am an Oscar-winning actor, right? I win all of the awards. I had the best award season of my life, right? I am always winning, right? I am always winning the things that I desire. You can even go general if you feel like, I don't know if I could say Oscar, but you don't have to believe it. You're just identifying as it. And that's it. It only takes one. I mean, J. Hud got an Oscar her first time out the gate, right? So, hey, Thushan Pereira. So my question to you is, what prevents you from doing that? Other than your need to substantiate everything, and I'm saying everyone, not talking to just to Janora, what is our need to substantiate everything in the physical? To put everything in the concrete, to see all the evidence first before we'll leap, right? We have to do that. But it's like leap before you look, because you're just going to know that it's already done. I already know that I've already set the destination. The destination was set by me and my all that isness, because if I have a desire, that's the tracking number. So that desire came to me to be an Oscar winner, right? I mean, even Kobe had Oscar on his list of things that he desired. He wasn't an actor, but he came out with a documentary, and his documentary won the best Oscar, right? So it's like, wow, that's crazy. How does Kobe, a basketball player, win an Oscar? Because he was clear on his destination. He knew that, and then he had the idea to have this documentary, and it happened. He also wanted to be an author, so he basically contracted these people to ghostwrite for him and probably talk to them, and then they came up with these great books. It's amazing what you can accomplish when you realize that there's so much coming for you. You don't have to be the one that does everything. Kobe did not write one word of those books that they published under his name. Does that make sense? Like, he got co-authors, he got people, but those books were commissioned by Kobe, right? The documentary, he didn't film everything. He just came up with the idea, or probably could just talk to somebody. They come up with the idea together, but because Kobe decided he was going to win an Oscar, it happened. Does that make sense? So you don't have to do everything. You just need to be clear on the destination, and then all the other stuff fills in the blanks. All the other stuff fills in the blanks. All right. I think that's all I have. I hope this was helpful. So focus on your beingness, not your doingness. Come back to who do you say that I am? And just a couple things that I want to say how this works. So I had a situation where yesterday I was in Atlanta, yesterday morning, technically Saturday evening to early morning. And I knew there was a soccer game I wanted to get home for. And my flight was supposed to arrive when the game was happening. So I was wanting to fly standby. So one thing that happened on my way to Atlanta was I asked a lady at the airport, and this is a question for you, something to sort of a tip for you. Stop asking other people what's possible for you. Stop asking other people what they think you should do or what is best, because they're often going to reflect their own beliefs in their answer. Okay, their own limitations. What are they ruled by? What do they live by? Right. So if you're, make sure whoever you're asking follows the same belief systems and sort of like reaching outside of themselves that you may, or at least that they're, recognize or take their answer with a grain of salt, because it cannot predict what's possible for you. It cannot predict what's possible for you. So asking other people, hey, should I do this? What do you think? Like, it's better to lean on your own answer, right? Hey, Deb, the counselor, how are you? So I asked the lady, like, oh, can I fly standby even though I have basic economy? So what is that question rooted in? There's a possibility that I might not get what I want because I bought the lowest grade ticket. So whatever. First of all, who was I being when I asked that question is the first thing I take myself to task for. Then she told me, yeah, they were before COVID, but now basic economy people have no status. So she's just reflecting my own belief to me. Okay. They have no status. So we don't even list you guys for the flight. Okay. So one, I went based on that. Now the policy I thought I saw online said, when I Googled it, that basic economy people can list for standby, but I didn't know. So I was basically going, she said it wasn't possible. But I still had the desire to go home early. So I didn't give up on it, but I was kind of like, I noticed. So I have these conversations with myself to say, wait a minute, Bryn, you're the power. What do you want? Not what does she think is possible? What does the policy say? Like, what do I want? Right? So, and I have to do this all the time because there's so much conditioning that I'm overcoming because I'm still going, but they said, right? So I want it to be clear, okay, that what I did was I tried to call American because I didn't want to take her word for it, but I was still looking for somebody to tell me it was possible. So I called American. It was a 2-hour wait for me to get a call back, to get a person on the phone. So I did that and I missed my calls. Okay. Then I also went on their chat. It was still a 2-hour wait on the chat. So I was like, geez, man, this is crazy. I can't talk to anybody. So I finally talked to somebody and she gave me one piece of information, or they gave me one, I don't know, I don't remember the gender of the individual, but gave me one piece of information that I did not know, which is the only way for you to list standby is to do it online or through the mobile app. And I was like, wait, what? So I went online and sure enough, same day flight change is an option, which has probably always been there, but it doesn't matter. They gave me the information I needed. I went and I saw that there was a 5 o'clock in the morning flight. At this point, it is 3:30 in the morning. I'm at my hotel in the bed, not packed, not ready to leave my hotel room, and the flight takes off at 5:05 a.m. So what do? I asked the person, wait, so can I list for this? And she's like, well, the only way you can list is this. And I'm like, okay, but this, I'm still confused because I don't totally know. But I did grab my laptop, looked it up, and I saw it. And then I decided I just listed for the 5 o'clock flight. I was like, which one do I list for? And then I just chose one because I was like, well, I'll just choose the first one because I don't know how you can list, So then I list for the 5 o'clock flight, but I'm like, it's 3:30. I'm still at the hotel room. Holy crap. So then the lady's like, yeah, there's no seats available on the 5 or the 7. Sorry. Basically like, I don't think you're going to get on. And so after this, I had already jumped out of bed once I listed and started, packing up and getting ready. And then I get this message from her that says, yeah, there's no seats. Like basically I thought she was saying the loads are whatever, they're full. And I keep going back and forth with her. I'm like, do you think I should go to the airport? Like, and I'm asking her permission. What do you think I should do? And I was like, Bryn, what are you going to do? Who are you? Who are you? Do you always get what you want? Are you going to make that flight? So I said, okay, I'm going to go. So I leave my hotel at 4 a.m. Flight takes off at 5:05. This is Atlanta Hartsfield, okay? I get to the airport at 4:30 because it's about a 20-minute ride from where I am in Midtown because I think my Uber driver took about 7 minutes to pick me up. I get there at 4:30. I'm like, oh, I got TSA pre-check. It's super early. No, Atlanta Hartsfield has the busiest TSA. And so it just does. And I need to stop saying that because I definitely experienced it. I was like, well, you spoke this into existence because you said they were the busiest TSA. It's at least a 20-minute wait once I get in there because they only got 2 lanes open at 5:05, 4:30 in the morning. And there's at least 50 to 60 people in line, And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know. And then I get a seat. My standby gets updated to I get a seat. I'm like, okay, I got a seat on the flight. So I asked the lady, I'm like, hey, my flight's at 5. Some lady that's standing nearby that has no real power. But I was just like, yo, and she's like, yeah, sorry. it is what it is. Like, you gotta wait. She's not trying to, advocate for me, help me, or anything like that. So I'm like, okay. And then of course, people say, well, you could just ask the people in front of you. There was a lot of people in front of me. It wasn't one person, it was a ton of people. And they all feel like they're entitled, like, I don't know. But I was just like, you know what? I'm not gonna do that. So I just waited. Then all of a sudden I was like, come on. It's 4:37. I'm like, oh my God. Like this flight, they're gonna close the doors at 4:55. So I'm like, oh geez. So all of a sudden, all these TSA people come and finally open up their lane. So the lane's moving so much faster. I get through, it's probably like 4:45 at this point. I'm like running through the terminal once I finally got through security. And I get to the gate and they have my ticket and I get on and they're like, hey, we got to check your bag because there's no more overhead space. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I don't care because I know I'm just trying to get on the flight. And then they go, oh, well, and then lady's like I'm like, you'll check my bag all the way through Los Angeles? They're like, yes. And then she's like checking and she's like, oh, it won't work. You know what? Give her a pink slip. I don't have time for this. Pink slip means they'll take your bag down and they'll bring it back up once it's off the flight. So it's almost like I had overhead space because I still got to take my bag to my next flight for LA. So I did not have to do baggage claim, which I didn't want to do. Everything worked out for me. But the point of the moral of that story is that I did not allow, even though I had those moments where I was like, well, what does this person think? What is possible? I reminded myself, I'm the power here. I'm the power here. I'm going to go to the airport. I'm the power here. TSA pre-check is too long. Something's going to happen that's going to make it so that I can get through the lane. I'm going to make this flight. I'm going to make this flight. So my question to you is, when are you surrendering to that power, or when are you just sort of claiming your littleness and being like, well, it looks like I won't make the flight. I guess I can think about the 7:00 flight. I could have shifted and started thinking about all the other things. And that's not to say that my mind didn't offer those, but I didn't identify with them. And so that's a perfect example of what I told you from this whole live. So I hope this has been helpful for you. I do have a client in 1 minute, but I'm having a masterclass tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central. Come to the masterclass. All you have to do is type webinar in the chat right now. Webinar, just test it. Test it for me. Type webinar. And you won't be put on any lists or anything like that, but just type webinar and then you'll get a message in your DMs that will give you the link to register for the masterclass. That way you don't even have to leave the live anymore. You just type webinar in the chat right now on this live and it will send you a message in your DMs. Test it for me, please, Janora. And Shakia, if you don't mind, type it in there and then all of a sudden it'll send you. You don't have to sign up. Don't worry. It won't sign you up for the webinar. It just gives you the link to sign up. Okay. So if you don't want to sign up, that's fine. Just type webinar in the chat, see what happens. Yeah. And then if you guys get it, let me know if you got a DM already. You might have already gotten it. If you didn't, let me know because then I have to go back and fix it. But I tried to set it up before I did this live so that anytime I go live, this is what's happening. Okay. Thank you guys so much. You're amazing. I will see you next time. Bye.